right, it is roughly 6 p.m. We do have quorum. I'm going to go ahead and call this evening's meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals for the City of Florence to order. First item on this evening's agenda is approval of the minutes of the January 23rd, 2025 meeting. Minutes have been submitted to members of the board in ample time to review. Are there any amendments or changes to those minutes? Do you have a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
So moved.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. The minutes are approved. Next item on this evening's agenda is BZA hearing number 2025-02, request for a variance from the minimum lot area required for a new parcel behind 814 Sherrall Drive in the NC-10 zoning district, identified as Florence tax map number 90049-01-003. Owner of record is Smith & Cannon Real Estate, LLC. Applicant is Mr. Louis Hopkins. And zoning district, as I said earlier, is NC-10. Board will now hear from city staff.
Good afternoon. This parcel is located at the intersection of Sherrall Drive and Langston Avenue. It's in the city completely, surrounded by city. There's the location map of it showing there is a pre-existing duplex on this parcel that faces Sherrall Drive, and then the bulk of the rear yard has frontage along Langston Avenue. This area is zoned NC-10, and all the parcels around it are zoned NC-10. And the future land use is also neighborhood conservation. In 1952 subdivision plat shows that the parcels in this area were all subdivided at that time to be about 180 to 200 feet deep and 50 feet wide. And it looks like at some point lots 3 and 4A were combined to create the parcel of 814 Sherrall Drive. So it's because it's about 92 feet wide and 180 feet deep along Langston Avenue, which is in keeping with this plat. So those two lots were combined that way. This is the proposed plat, or the plat proposed by the applicant. He would like to subdivide the rear 80 feet of the parcel to create a separate parcel. That parcel would have only 7,196 square feet and would leave just under, I believe it was 8,000 square feet or 9,000 square feet for the remainder. Yeah, 9,825 square feet. In the NC-10 district, the requirement for all new parcels is 10,000 square feet with an 80-foot street frontage. So this would meet the 80-foot street frontage, but it would leave two parcels that are both quite a bit underneath the minimum requirement for new parcels of 10,000 square feet. And the purpose is to build a single-family home on that new parcel. These are site photos of the duplex from Sherrall Drive in the upper left. The backyard where they would like to subdivide and put the house are on the right two photos. And these are some photos of the neighborhood immediately across the street. And as you can see, pretty much all of the houses in the neighborhood have deep backyards in keeping with that original plat. So here's the requirements for new lots of 10,000 square feet and 80 foot wide. So the findings of fact for the variance, that a variance from the terms would or would not be contrary to the public interest. The applicant desires to essentially carve out a new lot of record from the rear yard, but leaving it as it is does not prevent the use of it for the duplex. That the spirit of the ordinance would or would not be observed. The intent of the lot size minimum requirement for any particular zoning district is to ensure uniformity of lot sizes throughout the neighborhood and prevent overcrowding. That there are or are not extraordinary exceptional conditions. All the lots in the area are roughly twice as deep as they are wide, just like this one is, and leading to deep backyards. This one is on a corner, so the backyard has street frontage. That these conditions do or do not generally apply to other property. The current lot sizes in the immediate vicinity range from just under 9,000 square feet to about 24,000 square feet for single family lots. And as we saw, the subdivision was originally laid out with 50-foot by about 180-foot deep lots. So those depth dimensions do apply to generally, to pretty much all of the lots in the area. So there's nothing unique about the subject parcel in that regard. That because of these conditions, the application of the ordinance to this particular property would or would not prohibit or restrict it. Application of the lot size requirement to the request would result in the inability to subdivide the parcel due to its inadequate area and prevent them from building a second house on it, but it would not prevent its current use and historical use as a duplex. And that the authorization of the variance will or will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property. This is a corner lot giving the rear yard frontage along a secondary street, but if subdivided and developed, it would result in more dense development than is characteristic for the neighborhood. So that concludes staff's report.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for city staff from members of the board?
I do have a question. Why is the square footage set at that number of forgive me, you had it up, NC10, the 10,000 square foot minimum lot and the 80 square foot width? What is the reasoning for that? Or is that just a general law?
Well, every zoning district has general standards like that, just to provide uniformity of parcels. Otherwise, you could end up with a neighborhood where you got a real small lot next to a real big lot, next to a medium lot, and it provides for uniformity throughout the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Have there been any comments from the public?
Yes, I've
Okay.
received at least 4 or 5 phone calls from neighbors that were against it.
Okay.
Ms. Lane, this current use right now is duplex. Is that a non-conforming use?
That's correct, yes.
Was it originally built for a duplex, or was
It looks like
converted?
it was when I did the history on it. So, like right now, it would be zoned, it's zoned for single family only. NC10 only allows single family. So, if the duplex was destroyed and they did not apply, they would have 6 months to apply to rebuild it as a duplex. So it already has 2 units on this parcel, whereas all other parcels in the neighborhood have only 1 unit. But if it were just a vacant parcel, he'd have to put a single family house on it.
Are these units occupied?
Yes, ma'am.
And currently, the city right now, when you're reading the points, they would be deemed this being overcrowded.
It would not match the rest of the neighborhood for density, that's correct.
Are duplexes allowed in the NC?
Not in the NC10, no.
Not in it, okay.
But because this predates,
They're non-conforming.
Are there any other questions for city staff from members of the board? All right. Thank you very much. The board will now hear from the applicant. Is this, are you Mr. Louis Hopkins?
Yes.
All right, cool. If you don't mind, please state your name clearly in the microphone. Get ready to swear you in.
Good evening. My name's Louis Hopkins. I'm the applicant.
All right.
I've got a little
Hold on
bit
one
paper-
second. I got to swear you in. This is it's
Sure.
a quasi-legal, you know, from here it goes to
Sure.
circuit court if there's an appeal. But
Sure.
do you promise that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth?
I do.
Thank you, Mr. Hopkins. Go ahead.
Okay. I've got a little bit of paperwork I'd like to share with y'all,
Yeah.
just to kind of help you a little bit with the situation. This is the house that we propose to build on it.
Okay.
It also shows a site plan with the house on the lot, showing the setbacks as when you build it. One thing the staff member just said is this is only duplex. That's correct to my knowledge. But right across the street from Sherrall Drive is a ton of multifamily on Sherrall Drive. Isn't that correct?
Yes, but it's zoned differently.
Okay. And the NC-10 is a newer zoning. So this lot, like she said, was 2 lots originally, but they were 2 9,000 square foot lots originally. So I think that might be why, the duplex doesn't meet the new standards or whatever that we have today. And I was approached basically by the property owners, and once they bought it, they said, wow, this thing's really deep, might be enough area for another small house, and that's what we kind of looked into, and that's why we filed this application to do what we're doing here tonight. Currently, there's a lot of families that love to live in town. If you look at the setbacks on that site plan, it's about twice as much on the sides as what's required in NC-10. I actually measured to the left of the house facing it. The duplex is about 50 feet away. The house that faces Cherokee is like 120 feet away from their back property or their back building to our building. So there's a ton of space in between. Now, their lot is very deep, but we're still, a good bit away from those guys. We meet the front setback, it's 25, and I set it at 25. There's also another 14 feet to the curb. So the house would actually be like 39 feet off the street. The rear there's another 29 feet in the back. I think you could subdivide this lot and still have 2 really nice sized lots. You're not cramped. We build a lot of stuff in the city now on newer lots with 5-foot setbacks and side setbacks, and this is going to be 18. Please let me know if y'all have any questions for myself.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hopkins. Do we have any questions for the applicant from members of the board?
This new building, will it be directly behind the multifamily residence? Or will it be facing, is it going to be on Langston Avenue or Sherrall Avenue?
It will be on Langston, so it would face Langston, and the duplex currently faces Sherrall.
Are there any other questions for the applicant from members of the board?
Yes, Mr.
Go ahead,
Chairman.
Mr. Besson.
You said you're, for the property owner themselves, is this a personal resident for the property owner, or is this intent to?
Actually, if we get it, if you allow us to subdivide it, we're going to build a new home there and put it for sale for a new family.
So it's not for the applicant?
It's
not a
not.
personal residence for the
No,
applicant?
sir. One other thing, I think, Elaine, what are the minimum lot sizes in the city of Florence now?
It depends on the zoning district.
But what's the smallest for residential? Square feet?
Generally 6,000 square feet.
Okay.
Not in NC-10 though, correct?
Correct.
I noticed right around the corner on Langston, there's some lots that were much smaller than 10,000 feet. I mean, literally right around the corner. They're in the same zoning district.
Well, the zoning district right across Sherrod Drive is, I believe it's NC 6.1, which is 6,000 square feet.
Okay. So that's very close. We're not trying to do anything detrimental. We're just trying to build a home for a family. Land seems like there's not a lot anymore. This home on this new lot would still give a lot of area, green space for a family. It's not like they're going to be reaching out the window to touch anybody. It's definitely not going to be that tight.
Is the lot being used for anything now?
It's just backyard right now.
Just backyard.
Are they leasing the building now for duplex? Or
The duplex
is
is
it owned, or-
occupied, yes, sir. And the owner's here, and they probably will speak after I do so.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Hopkins by members of the board? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who wishes to speak either for or against the variance request? Yes, sir. And same as before, you just state your name clearly in the microphone and I'll swear you in.
My name's Reeves Cannon.
All right, Mr. Cannon, do you promise that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth?
Began the zoning and the surveying process. Really, the impetus for that was creating more single-family homes inside of the community. I'm a real estate agent in town. I know that there are lots of desires for families to move into this area, very close to a school. We believe that this would create a very attractive single-family home for sale to an end user. It would not be another rental property. It would not be for our benefit. We would be selling the property and provide an attractive home. And we also think would elevate all property values around because of a new home increasing the square foot price per square foot. So that's our intent. That's our desire for this.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cannon. Are there any questions from members of the board? All right. Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else who wishes to be heard either for or against the variance request? Yes, sir. And just as before, if you don't mind stating your name clearly in the microphone, and I'll swear you in.
My name is Clyde Kahn.
All right, Mr. Khan, do you promise that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth?
I do.
All right, go ahead.
So I am the backdoor neighbor that faces Edisto. I'm here to speak against the splitting of this parcel. I have a quick question, though, for the city. I heard that you said there were several phone calls made. Were there emails sent as well?
Yes, I received at least 2 emails.
Okay. One of the main reasons I'm against this is because there are a lot of properties in this neighborhood, myself included, that have the deep backyard on these corner lots going all the way down Edisto and Sherraw. And this would set a precedent of buying up these homes, splitting up these backyards, and adding more homes in an area where the infrastructure is already struggling to meet the current demand. Edisto and Cherokee are full of traffic as it is. There are water leaks on Edisto frequently. My bath water for my children is yellow. The infrastructure is not meeting the current demand, and adding more would be detrimental to the area, I do believe. Furthermore, they mentioned increasing value of homes, and I fail to see how a home right up against my home, when I already have a neighbor whose house is quite close, could possibly positively impact my greatest asset, my biggest investment in my home. Also, just because you build it at $180 a square foot doesn't mean a small house like that in this area is going to sell for that on such a small parcel in an already densely populated area with a duplex right beside it and apartments across the street from that duplex.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions, Mr. Khan?
How long have you lived in your current house?
I've lived in this house for 3 years. I've lived in this neighborhood for minus the 10 that I was gone for college and grad school my whole life.
Is this your first home?
This is my first home.
And where was your location of your home directly in regards to the home off of Sherraw?
Yeah, so if you look at the diagram that they provided for you, directly behind their lot where it says Kristen N. Kahn and Clyde T. Paget Kahn, that's my lot.
Yes.
So you will see this more than anybody else.
All right.
All right, are there any other questions from members of the board? Go ahead, Ms. Moses.
You said your home is on Edisto, so the front is facing Edisto, but your back is facing the new construction.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there anything that will be dividing your property from this new?
There is currently a small chicken wire fence back there at the back of my property, but it's currently everything's overgrown with trees and vines. It was actually my project for tomorrow is to kill a lot of those wisteria vines. I've been promising my wife for 2 years I'd get back there with the chainsaw. So, but I imagine in order to build this, they would have to clear a lot of that out, which would leave clear line of sight from the back porch I just had built to this new residence. Which, again, to be sold as a single home residence, not to be guaranteed that the new buyer is not then going to rent it out.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from members of the board? Thank you, Mr. Khan.
My pleasure.
Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard either for or against the variance request? Yes, sir. And just like your predecessors, just state your name clearly into the microphone and I'll swear you in, sir.
My name's Charles Ducker.
All right, Mr. Ducker. You said Ducker?
Ducker.
Ducker. All right. Do you promise that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, please.
I basically want to endorse what Pageant had to say. As I think you run the risk of setting a precedent. I mean, because basically what you're asking for is a spot zoning, and if you look at all the lots, they're all that deep. In the middle of the block, you might not be able to section it out and build something, but on the Langston, on Lindbergh, the next road down, it's the same thing. You could end up with the exact same situation. And I think the idea of having, homeowners is a great idea, but I also think that it also, building something there also lends itself to the part that if it doesn't sell, it'll become a rental. And my house is on Cherokee Road, but a great deal of the property fronts Cheraw, and I see all that right there too. So that's my feeling. Don't want to inhibit somebody trying to make a financial decision and better themselves. But if it affects other people around them, I think you have to take that into account.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions from members of the board? Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I do, but more for the city in regards to what you're implying. Is there any other incentive for a home owner for the program as far as incentives to buy it? I know there's first-time home buyers and all that with the South Carolina home buying program. Is there anything specifically to this area, or
No,
there wouldn't be? Okay.
no more so than usual.
Thank you, Lane.
Are there any other questions from members of the board? All right. Thank you,
Thanks,
Doug.
sir.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard either for or against the variance request? Yes, sir. Mr. Khan, go ahead.
Did I swear back in?
Nah.
Okay.
We'll take your word for you.
Is there any chance that we can hear the reading of the emails? I imagine that
I don't
People's
have
voices are
those
trying to be
with me,
heard.
No, but they were reiteration of what you're saying. They were just concerned about the increased density in the neighborhood and the impacts on traffic and infrastructure.
Were they adjacent property owners, or did they state exactly what address they were located at?
Well, one of them was his wife. One of them was I think it's pronounced Kelly Khan.
that'll be my mother who's on 1216 Cherokee.
Okay. And then also a Missy Worthington called in fact, just before the meeting here as well.
And her call was against.
Actually, I do have, her call was also against.
Okay.
I did write these down. Missy Worthington, and then I've got a Tim Cunningham as well.
Okay.
From, let's see. They are not on my immediate, Mr. Ducker was on my immediate property owner list, and the Khans are as well. But the other two that called, I don't know if they saw it in the newspaper or passed by and saw the sign in the yard.
Okay.
Did anybody call in favor of?
No,
Did anybody call out of curiosity?
no,
So when they called, they were strictly against it.
that's correct.
Yes, sir, you can reapproach. Yes, sir. And it's Mr. Cannon?
Mr. Cannon, yes.
Mr. Cannon, yes, sir.
I would just like the record to reflect, Ms. Worthington, who you referenced a minute ago, who who sent an email or either a phone call.
She called.
There was apparently some Facebook chatter about this once the sign went up, and she reached out to me directly, I guess after researching who the property owner was, and I shared with her the same plans we've shared with the board tonight, and she indicated to me via messenger that it would be very helpful if we were to share the plans that we've laid out tonight, and that she thought that was good for the neighborhood. So, you know, there was some back and forth that I have with her that I didn't prepare to bring, but I could show the evidence of that. But so there's been a little bit of back and forth there in a positive way. And then there were a couple of comments on Facebook of individuals who, at least one specifically I'm thinking of, that spoke in favor publicly on Facebook. A mortgage broker in town, Travis Blayton, who spoke for the positive nature of what this would do for the neighborhood.
Thank you, Mr. Cannon. And one last shot. Is there anybody else who wishes to be heard either for or against the variance request? All right. The chair will now entertain a motion to either approve or deny the variance request from members of the board.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we deny the variance request based on the following findings of facts, that a variance from the terms of the Unified Development Ordinance will be contrary to the public interest, where owing to special conditions, a literal enforcement of the provisions will not in an individual case result in unnecessary hardship. Granting a variance from the Unified Development Ordinance would be contrary to the public interest, as it would undermine the intent of the zoning regulations, which are designed to maintain orderly development and ensure community well-being. The special conditions in this case do not warrant deviating from the established provisions, and little enforcement is necessary to preserve the integrity of the zoning district. Allowing this variance could set a harmful precedence, potentially leading to the unnecessary hardship and disruptive of the area's historical use and development patterns. Number two, that the spirit of the Unified Development Ordinance will be observed, public safety and welfare secured, and substantial justice done. The spirit of the Unified Development Ordinance would not be observed if the variance is granted, as it would undermine the intent of the lot size minimum requirement, which ensures uniformity of lot sizes and prevents overcrowding in the neighborhood. Excuse me. That there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. While the lot is on a corner, this condition is not unique enough to justify a variance. The fact that all lots in the area are roughly twice as deep as they are wide, leading to deep backyards, does not create a compelling reason to deviate from the zoning requirements. Number four, that these conditions do not generally apply to other properties in the vicinity. While the subdivision was originally laid out with lots that are 50 feet wide by 180 feet deep, the subject parcel does not present unique circumstances that justify a variance. The current lot sizes in the immediate area ranging from just under 9,000 square feet to 24,000 square feet, and there's nothing particularly different about this lot that would warrant an exception to the established zoning requirements. Granting the variance would deviate from the uniformity of the neighborhood, potentially disrupting the intended character and the layout of the area. Number 5, that because of these conditions, the application of the Unified Development Ordinance to this particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property as follows. While the lot size requirement may prevent the landowner from subdividing the parcel and building a second home, this is consistent with the intent of the zoning regulations, which are designed to maintain uniformity and prevent overcrowding. The property is still being used as a duplex, and there's no need to deviate from established lot size requirements to accommodate this use. And number 6, that the authorization of a variance will be of substantial detriment to adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district will be harmed by the grant of this variance. As a corner lot with rear yard frontage along a secondary street, subdividing and developing the property would result in a denser development than what is characteristic for this neighborhood. This could disrupt the established character of the area, leading to overcrowding and potentially diminishing the quality of life for residents in the surrounding properties. Granting the variance would negatively impact the neighborhood's uniformity and could set a precedence for further changes that are not in line with the district's intended development.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Poston. We have a motion to deny the variance request before the board. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Moses. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries. The variance request is denied. There are no other items on this evening's agenda. Are there any announcements from city staff?
Nope.
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carries. This evening's meeting is adjourned. Thank you guys very much.